The Tholian fleet moved with sinister purpose, blotting out the stars as it converged on the crippled human ship. For centuries, these aliens had conquered and destroyed any civilization they met, confident that none could challenge their might. Now, they faced a new foe, one that defied their perceived invincibility with a single devastating blow. The USS Odyssey hung dead in space, its crew scrambling to repair the damage from the unexpected warp drive malfunction that stranded them deep in hostile Tholian territory. Captain Wayne Green gripped the armrests of his command chair, his knuckles white as he watched the massive enemy warship approach on the view screen. He knew the Odyssey was outmatched, its cutting-edge human weapons useless against the Tholians' advanced technology. Commander Alara stood on the bridge of the Tholian ship, a cruel smile playing across his angular features. He relished the opportunity to prove himself to the Empire by capturing these intruders. The humans would be interrogated, their technology studied and assimilated, their pitiful resistance crushed like so many before them. But as the Tholian ship closed in for the kill, Wayne made a desperate gambit. With a hoarse shout, he ordered the activation of the Odyssey's experimental EMP weapon, a last-ditch effort to buy time for their escape. The blast ripped through space, enveloping the Tholian ship in a blinding flash of energy. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, the lights flickered and died, and the mighty warship lurched to a halt, its systems crippled by the human device. Alara staggered to his feet, disbelief etched on his face. The humans, a species they had dismissed as primitive and weak, had dealt a devastating blow to the pride of the Tholian fleet. With trembling fingers, he sent a distress signal to the Empire, alerting them to the shocking capabilities of this new enemy. News of the incident raced through the Tholian hierarchy, stoking the fires of fear and rage. The Empire mobilized for war, determined to crush the humans before they could pose a further threat to Tholian dominance. The survival of humanity hung in the balance as the Odyssey raced back to Earth, desperate to warn of the coming storm. The Tholians had never known defeat, had never faced a foe that could challenge their supremacy. But as they prepared for the invasion of Earth, they would learn the hard way that humans were a force to be reckoned with, a species that would fight to the bitter end to protect their own. The stage was set for a battle that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy, a clash of civilizations that would redefine the meaning of invincibility. The Odyssey streaked through the void, pushing its engines to their limits as it raced back to Earth. Captain Wayne Green stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the screen as stars blurred past. He clenched his fists, the weight of the information they carried pressing down on his shoulders. The Tholians were coming, and Earth had to be warned. As soon as the Odyssey entered Earth's orbit, Wayne hailed the United Earth Defense Council. "This is Captain Wayne Green of the USS Odyssey, requesting an urgent meeting with Admiral Jameson and the Council." The response was immediate. "Captain Green, you are cleared to land at UEDC headquarters. Admiral Jameson is expecting you." Wayne wasted no time, striding into the council chambers with purpose. Admiral Jameson, a grizzled veteran with steely eyes, greeted him with a firm handshake. "Captain Green, I understand you have critical information regarding the Tholians." Wayne nodded, his voice grave. "Yes, Admiral. The Tholians are preparing for a full-scale invasion of Earth. We encountered one of their warships and barely escaped. They're coming, and we need to prepare." Admiral Jameson's expression hardened. He turned to the council members. "Initiate Protocol Omega. We are now at war." The council room erupted into a flurry of activity. Orders were barked, messages sent, and plans set in motion. Earth's military forces were mobilized, deep space vessels recalled, and a planet-wide state of emergency declared. Scientists and engineers pored over the data from the Odyssey's encounter, searching for any weaknesses in Tholian technology. The EMP weapon that had saved the Odyssey was reverse-engineered and mass-produced, arming Earth's ships with a potent new tool. As the preparations continued, Wayne found himself summoned to Admiral Jameson's office. The Admiral stood, his face etched with drive. "Captain Green, in light of your experience with the Tholians and your exemplary service record, I am promoting you to the rank of Admiral. You will lead our first line of defense against the Tholian invasion." Wayne accepted the promotion with a solemn nod. He knew the weight of the responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. Light years away, in the heart of the Tholian Empire, Emperor Zoran seethed with rage. News of the defeat at the hands of the humans had spread like wildfire, sparking unrest and doubt among his subjects. He could feel his grip on power slipping. In a bid to restore confidence, Zoran summoned Commander Alara to his throne room. "You will lead the invasion of Earth," he declared, his voice dripping with venom. "Annihilate the humans and prove the might of the Tholian Empire." Alara bowed, a twisted smile on his lips. "It will be done, my Emperor." As the Tholian invasion fleet emerged from warp at the edge of Earth's solar system, Admiral Wayne stood on the bridge of his flagship, the EDS Titan. Earth's defenses were in place, a fleet of advanced warships ready to face the onslaught. The first wave of Tholian ships opened fire, their weapons slicing through the void. Earth's ships responded in kind, the reverse-engineered EMP weapons disabling several enemy vessels. But the Tholians kept coming, their numbers threatening to overwhelm the human defenses. Explosions lit up the void as ships on both sides were destroyed. Admiral Wayne gripped the chairs of his chair, his mind racing. They were holding the line but barely. Suddenly a message flashed across his console. It was from an unknown sender, claiming to have vital intelligence that could turn the tide of the war. The message instructed him to meet at a secluded location on Earth's moon. Wayne hesitated, the chaos of the battle raging around him. But with Earth's fate hanging in the balance, he knew he had to investigate. He turned to his first officer. "You have the bridge. I'm taking a shuttle to the moon. If this intelligence is real, it could be our only hope." As Wayne's shuttle raced towards the moon, the battle raged on, the fate of humanity uncertain. The mysterious message was a gamble, but one he had to take. The survival of Earth and the human race depended on it. Admiral Wayne Green stood on the bridge of the USS Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. The quantum entanglement device hummed softly behind him, its presence a testament to human ingenuity and Dr. Keller's brilliance. "All ships, this is Admiral Green. Prepare for combat. The Tholians are coming." As if on cue, space itself seemed to tear open as the Tholian armada emerged from warp. Their ships, sleek and alien, bristled with weaponry that glowed with an otherworldly energy. On the lead, Tholian ship, Supreme Commander Alara's mandibles clicked with anticipation. "At last," he hissed, "the humans will pay for their insolence." The Tholian ships opened fire without warning. Energy beams lanced across space, followed by a barrage of missiles that left fiery trails in their wake. "Now," Wayne shouted, "activate the device." Dr. Keller's fingers flew across her console. The quantum entanglement device sprang to life, projecting a shimmering field of energy that enveloped the human fleet. The Tholian weapons slammed into the field and fizzled out. On the Tholian ships, consoles exploded in showers of sparks as their systems went haywire. Alara's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible! All ships, switch to backup systems and target that human vessel." The battle raged as the Vanguard and its escorts weaved through the Tholian barrage. Human weapons, now unhindered by Tholian defenses, struck true. Explosions bloomed in the void as Tholian ships fell one by one. Wayne's voice rang out over the comms. "Push forward, don't let up." The tide of battle shifted. The once invincible Tholian armada began to crumble under the relentless human assault. Desperation etched itself on Alara's features. "Divert all power to forward weapons. We end this now." The remaining Tholian ships glowed with building energy. Wayne's tactical officer shouted a warning. "Sir, they're preparing to fire. Our shields can't take that kind of hit." Wayne's mind raced. "Helm, prepare for emergency warp jump on my mark." The Tholian beams lashed out, a wall of destructive energy hurtling towards the Vanguard. "Mark." The Vanguard vanished in a flash of light, the Tholian attack passing through empty space. When they re-emerged, Wayne found his ship surrounded by the remnants of the Tholian fleet. Alara's flagship loomed before them. "Expand the quantum field to maximum," Wayne ordered. The shimmering energy expanded outward, engulfing the Tholian ships. One by one, their lights went dark, leaving them drifting helplessly in space. On the Tholian flagship, Ilara snarled in defiance. "If I am to fall, I'll take these humans with me." He reached for the self-destruct controls. Suddenly, the bridge doors exploded inward. Commander Jack Richards and Lieutenant Michael Novak charged in, weapons blazing. In a fierce, close-quarters fight, they overwhelmed the Tholian crew. Novak tackled Ilara just as the alien's claw touched the self-destruct panel. They grappled on the floor, Richards joining the fray. With a final, decisive blow, they subdued the Tholian commander. As the dust settled, Wayne's voice crackled over the comms. "Richards, report." "Flagship secured, sir," Richards replied, breathing heavily. "Ilara is in custody." Wayne allowed himself a small smile. They had done it. Against the odds, humanity had prevailed. Admiral Wayne Green stood on the bridge of the USS Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The devastation of the Tholian homeworld had not ended the conflict as he'd hoped. Instead, it had splintered the Tholian Empire into renegade factions, each more desperate and dangerous than the last. "Sir, we've lost contact with Outpost Sigma 7, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. Wayne's teeth gritted. It was the third outpost hit this week. "Casualties?" "Unknown, sir, but based on previous attacks." She didn't need to finish. Wayne knew the grim statistics all too well. He turned to his tactical officer. "What do we know about these attacks?" "They bear all the hallmarks of General Krax's faction, sir," the officer replied. "Hit hard, hit fast, and disappear before we can muster a response." Wayne nodded. Krax was proving to be a thorn in their side, one that needed to be removed. He tapped his comm badge. "Commander Richards, report to the bridge immediately." Minutes later, Jack Richards strode onto the bridge, his face etched with dedication. "You wanted to see me, sir?" Wayne gestured to the tactical display. "We need to end this, Jack. I have a plan, but it's risky." As Wayne outlined his strategy, Richards' eyes widened. "A mock supply convoy? Sir, that's dangerous?" "Yes, but it's our best shot at drawing Krax out." Richards nodded, his mind already racing through the details. "I'll need a small team, the best we've got." "You'll have them," Wayne assured him. "Choose wisely. This mission could decide the fate of the war." As Richards left to assemble his team, Wayne turned back to the view screen. The stars seemed cold and distant, each one potentially hiding a Tholian ambush. Days later, the trap was set. The USS Vanguard led a small flotilla of ships, their holds empty, but their transponders broadcasting the signatures of supply vessels. Wayne stood on the bridge, every muscle tense as they cruised through the asteroid field where Krax was believed to be hiding. "Sir, multiple contacts," Chen called out. "Tholian signatures closing fast." Wayne's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "All ships, battle stations, activate the quantum entanglement device." The device hummed to life, creating a shimmering field around the human ships. As the Tholian vessels opened fire, their energy weapons fizzled against the protective barrier. "Return fire," Wayne ordered. "Keep them focused on us." As the space battle erupted, a small stealth shuttle detached from the Vanguard's underbelly. Inside, Richards and his team of 5 elite soldiers prepared for their insertion. "Remember," Richards said, his voice low and intense, "our objective is the power core. We get in, we overload it, we get out. Clear?" The team nodded, their faces grim behind their tactical visors. The shuttle weaved through the chaos of the battle, using the firefight as cover to approach Krax's asteroid base. They landed in a small, concealed crevice on the asteroid's surface. Richards led the way, his weapon at the ready as they breached an airlock and entered the base. The corridors were a maze of alien architecture, all angles and sharp edges. They encountered their first resistance at a junction, 2 Tholian guards who barely had time to raise their weapons before Richards and his team cut them down. "Move," Richards hissed, knowing their presence wouldn't remain secret for long. They fought their way deeper into the base, each firefight more intense than the last. Two of Richards's team fell to Tholian energy weapons, their bodies vaporized in flashes of light. Finally, they reached the central chamber housing the power core. Richard's eyes widened as he took in the massive, pulsing structure. "Plant the charges," he ordered. "We've got 5 minutes to—" A blast of energy seared past his head, scorching the wall behind him. Richard spun, coming face to face with a Tholian warrior unlike any he'd seen before. Her carapace was adorned with intricate markings, and her eyes blazed with fury. "I am Zora," she hissed, her mandibles clicking. "And you will go no further, human." Richards barely had time to duck as Zora launched herself at him, her claws slashing through the air where his head had been moments before. They grappled fiercely, each seeking a decisive advantage. As they fought, Richards's remaining team members worked frantically to plant the explosives on the power core. Alarms blared throughout the base, and the sounds of approaching Tholian reinforcements echoed through the corridors. Richards managed to land a solid blow, sending Zora staggering back. But the Tholian warrior was far from beaten. She lunged forward, her claws raking across Richards's chest, leaving deep gashes in his armor. "Sir!" one of his team shouted. "Charges are set!" Richards nodded, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "Fall back. Get to the extraction point." As his team retreated, Richards found himself locked in a deadly dance with Zora. They traded blows, neither willing to give ground. Suddenly, Zora's eyes flicked to a control panel behind Richards. Understanding dawned on him a moment too late. Zora slammed her claw into the panel and a new alarm began to sound, deeper, more ominous. "You've lost, human," Zora snarled. "This base will be your tomb." Richards didn't waste breath on a reply. He kicked out, catching Zora in what passed for her midsection. As she stumbled, he turned and ran, following the path his team had taken. The base shook around him as he sprinted through the corridors. Explosions rocked the structure, whether from the human assault outside or the base's own self-destruct sequence, he couldn't tell. He caught up with his team at the airlock, their faces pale with the realization of how close they'd come to being trapped. "Move!" Richards shouted, urging them into the shuttle. As they blasted away from the asteroid, the base erupted in a massive explosion. The shockwave caught their shuttle, sending it tumbling end over end. Richards fought with the controls, struggling to stabilize their flight. Through the viewport, he caught glimpses of the space battle still raging. The Vanguard was taking heavy fire, its shields flickering under the assault. As they limped back towards the human fleet, Richards knew their victory had come at a steep price. The fight was nowhere near the end, and Krax was still out there, nursing his wounds and plotting his revenge. The battle for the future of humanity raged on with no end in sight. Admiral Wayne Green surveyed the damage to the USS Vanguard's bridge. Sparks flew from ruptured conduits, and the acrid smell of burnt circuitry filled the air. He wiped sweat and grime from his brow, his uniform stained with soot. "Damage report!" he called out, his voice hoarse from hours of shouting orders. Lieutenant Commander Chen limped to his side, her arm in a makeshift sling. "Sir, we've lost primary weapons. Shields are at 20%, and life support is running on auxiliary power." Wayne nodded grimly. "And the rest of the fleet?" "Half our ships are crippled or destroyed. The others aren't much better off than we are." The tactical display flickered to life, showing the aftermath of their battle against Krax's forces. The debris field stretched for thousands of kilometers, a graveyard of human and Tholian ships alike. Wayne's comm badge chirped. "Admiral, urgent message from Earth Defense Council." He tapped the badge. "This is Green. Go ahead." The gravelly voice of General Hawthorne filled the bridge. "Wayne, we've got a situation. Our deep space probes have detected a massive buildup of Tholian forces in the Tau Ceti system. Intelligence confirms it's Zaran." Wayne's blood ran cold. "Zaran? I thought he went down with the homeworld." "Apparently not. He's amassed an armada that makes Krax's forces look like a scouting party. We need to hit him before he mobilizes." "With all due respect, sir, we're in no shape for another engagement. We need time to regroup, to repair." Hawthorne cut him off. "We don't have time, Wayne. Zaran's shipyards are churning out warships as we speak. If we don't strike now, we might not get another chance. Wayne closed his eyes, weighing the impossible odds against the consequences of inaction. What's the plan? We're sending you the details now. It's a covert op. Get a team into those shipyards and shut them down from the inside. As the transmission ended, Wayne turned to his crew. Assemble the senior staff in the war room and get me Commander Richards. Hours later, Jack Richards stood before a hand-picked team of soldiers and engineers in the Vanguard's hangar bay. The sleek lines of their stealth shuttle gleamed under the harsh lights. Listen up, Richards said, his voice carrying across the bay. Our mission is simple but crucial. We infiltrate Zaran's shipyards, upload a virus to their central control hub, and get out. The virus will cripple their production capabilities, buying us the time we need to regroup and strike back. He paused, meeting each team member's eyes. I won't lie to you. This is a one-way trip for most of us, but what we do here could turn the tide of this war. Any questions? Silence fell over the hangar. Richards nodded. Then let's move out. The shuttle slipped away from the Vanguard, its stealth systems rendering it invisible to both sensors and the naked eye. As they approached the Tau Ceti system, the vast expanse of Zaran's shipyards came into view. Holy shit, whispered Lieutenant Reeves, the shuttle's pilot. It's like a whole damn city out here. Richards leaned forward, studying the complex network of construction platforms, defense stations, and half-built warships. Stay focused. Find us a way in. Reeves guided the shuttle through a treacherous field of asteroids and debris, using the cover to mask their approach. Tholian patrols buzzed by, oblivious to the human intruders in their midst. As they neared the outer perimeter of the shipyards, a massive energy net flickered into view. Richards gritted his teeth. Can we get through that? The team's tech specialist, Corporal Zhang, studied her readings. Yes, but we'll have to time it perfectly. The net has a fluctuation every 93 seconds. If we hit it just right, we can slip through. Richards nodded. Do it. The shuttle surged forward, threading the needle between the pulsing strands of energy. For a heart-stopping moment, alarms blared as the net's energy licked at their hull. Then they were through, gliding into the heart of Zaran's operation. We're in, Reeves breathed. Now what? Richards pointed to a massive structure at the center of the shipyards. That's our target, the central control hub. Take us in. As they approached, the true scale of the facility became apparent. It dwarfed even the largest human installations, a testament to Zaran's ambition and resources. The shuttle touched down in a secluded maintenance bay. Richards led his team out, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Stay alert. We're in the belly of the beast now. They moved through the facility, encountering sporadic resistance from Tholian security forces. Each firefight was brief but intense, with both sides knowing that discovery could mean the failure of their respective missions. Finally, they reached the central control hub. As Richards prepared to breach the final security door, a voice rang out behind them. Humans, your foolishness knows no bounds. They spun to find themselves face-to-face with Zyrax, Zaran's second-in-command. The Tholian's carapace gleamed in the harsh light, his eyes burning with hatred. Richards raised his weapon. Stand down, Zyrax. This ends now. Zyrax's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Oh, it ends, but not for us. The Tholian lunged forward with blinding speed. Richards barely had time to dodge, feeling the heat from Zyrax's energy blade as it seared past his face. Upload the virus, Richards shouted to his team as he engaged Zyrax in close combat. The two warriors clashed in a blur of movement, each seeking a decisive advantage. Richards's human agility was matched against Zyrax's alien strength and speed. Around them, the rest of the team fought off waves of Tholian security forces while Zhang worked frantically to upload the virus. The air filled with the acrid smell of ozone and the staccato rhythm of weapons fire. Richards felt his strength ebbing as the fight dragged on. A vicious blow from Zyrax sent him stumbling back, his vision blurring. It's done, Zhang shouted. Virus uploaded. As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. Lights flickered and died as systems began to crash. Zyrax roared in fury, Realizing the extent of their sabotage, he charged at Richards with reckless abandon. Richards saw his opening. He sidestepped at the last moment, using Zyrax's momentum to send the Tholian crashing into a control panel. Sparks erupted, and Zyrax howled in pain as electricity coursed through his body. "We need to go, now!" Richards ordered his team. As they raced back towards their shuttle, the shipyards descended into chaos around them. Construction platforms ground to a halt, defense systems powered down, and half-built ships drifted aimlessly. They were almost to the maintenance bay when a massive explosion rocked the facility. The path to their shuttle was suddenly blocked by a wall of debris and flame. Richards made a split-second decision. "There's no time. You have to go without me." His team protested, but he cut them off. "That's an order. I'll hold them off. Get back to the fleet and finish this fight." With heavy hearts, the team retreated, leaving Richards to face the oncoming Tholian forces alone. As he took up a defensive position, Richards allowed himself a grim smile. He may not make it out, but he'd give the Tholians hell before he went down. The first wave of Tholian soldiers rounded the corner, and Richards opened fire. "Come on, you bastards," he growled. "Let's dance." Outside, the human fleet engaged Zaran's forces in a desperate battle. Admiral Wayne Green stood on the bridge of the battered Vanguard, watching as the Tholian ships began to falter and retreat. "Sir," Chen reported, "Zaran's forces are withdrawing. The virus, it worked." Wayne nodded, a mix of relief and sorrow washing over him. "Signal the fleet. Push them back, but don't pursue. We've won this round, but at a heavy cost." As the last Tholian ships disappeared into the depths of space, Wayne stared at the stars, his thoughts with Richards and the sacrifices made to secure this victory. "It's not over," he murmured to himself, "but we've bought ourselves a fighting chance." Admiral Wayne Green stood on the bridge of the USS Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The aftermath of their victory at Zaran's shipyards still lingered, but a new threat loomed on the horizon. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth Defense Council," Lieutenant Commander Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. Green nodded, bracing himself for more bad news. "Put it through." General Hawthorne's weathered face appeared on the main screen. "Wayne, we've got a situation. Saran's been busy since your team hit his shipyards." "How bad?" Green asked, his stomach nodding. Hawthorne's expression darkened. "He's allied himself with Captain Vrak and his pirate band. They've hit 3 of our outposts in the past week, but that's not the worst of it." Green leaned forward, his hands gripping the console. "What did they take?" "A prototype shielding device. Our scientists think it could neutralize the quantum entanglement weapon." "Jesus!" Green breathed. He turned to Chen. "Assemble the senior staff. We need a plan, and we need it now." Hours later, Lieutenant Samantha Ross stood before a hand-picked team in the Vanguard's briefing room. Her dark eyes scanned the faces of her fellow soldiers, a mix of tenacity and fear evident in their expressions. "Our mission is clear," Ross stated, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility. "We infiltrate Vrak's asteroid base, secure the prototype, and get out before Zaran can weaponize it." Private Jenkins, a young soldier with a shock of red hair, raised his hand. "How are we getting past their defenses?" Ross tapped a control, bringing up a holographic display of the asteroid. "We'll be using a new cloaking system. It should get us close enough to breach their outer defenses here." She pointed to a small indent in the asteroid's surface. The team studied the plans, memorizing every detail. As they prepared to depart, Admiral Green pulled Ross aside. "Samantha," he said, his voice low, "this mission, it's—" "I know, sir," Ross interrupted, "but we'll get it done. For Earth, for Richards." Green nodded, a flicker of pride in his eyes. "Good hunting, Lieutenant." The stealth shuttle slipped away from the Vanguard, its outline blurring as the cloaking device engaged. Ross sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls as they approached Vrak's asteroid base. 30 seconds to breach point, she announced. The team tensed, checking weapons and gear one last time. As they neared the asteroid's surface, Ross expertly guided the shuttle into a narrow crevice, touching down with barely a tremor. "Move out," she ordered. They exited the shuttle, the vacuum of space muffling their movements. Using mag boots to navigate the asteroid's low gravity, they made their way to a maintenance airlock. Jenkins worked quickly, bypassing the security protocols. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of pressurized air. Inside, Ross led her team through dimly lit corridors, their footsteps echoing ominously. They encountered no resistance at first, but as they delved deeper into the base, the first signs of trouble appeared. A pair of Tholian guards rounded a corner, their crystalline bodies glinting in the harsh light. Ross reacted instantly, dropping one with a well-placed shot. Jenkins took out the second before it could raise the alarm. "They'll have picked that up on internal sensors," Ross hissed. "Move!" They raced through the corridors, the sound of alarms growing louder. As they approached the central chamber where intelligence suggested the prototype was held, all hell broke loose. Tholian pirates swarmed from side passages, energy weapons blazing. Ross and her team took cover behind bulkheads and equipment, returning fire. "Jenkins, Joe, cover R6, Ross shouted over the din of battle. "Martinez, with me." They fought their way forward, the air thick with ozone and the screams of wounded Tholians. Ross spotted the prototype, a sleek device pulsing with energy, on a pedestal at the far end of the chamber. As she made a dash for it, a massive Tholian blocked her path. Captain Vrak, his crystalline body adorned with battle scars, towered over her. "Human," he growled, his voice like grinding glass. "You dare invade my domain?" Ross didn't waste breath on a reply. She ducked under Vrak's sweeping arm, rolling past him to snatch the prototype. As her fingers closed around the device, she felt a surge of triumph. That feeling was short-lived as Vrak's guards cut off their escape route. Ross's team regrouped around her, forming a protective circle. "Options?" Martinez asked, his voice strained. Ross's eyes darted around the chamber, seeking any advantage. Her gaze fell on a cluster of power conduits near the wall. "Cover me," she ordered, pulling a plasma grenade from her belt. As her team laid down suppressing fire, Ross activated the grenade and hurled it at the conduits. The resulting explosion rocked the entire chamber, collapsing a section of the asteroid's structure. "Go!" Ross shouted, pushing her team towards the newly created exit. They ran, dodging falling debris and enemy fire. Ross brought up the rear, clutching the prototype to her chest. As they neared their extraction point, she realized with horror that they were one short. "Where's Jenkins?" she yelled. Martinez pointed back the way they'd come. "Pinned down. He told us to go." Ross made a split-second decision. "Get to the shuttle. I'm going back for him." Before they could protest, she turned and sprinted back into the collapsing base. She found Jenkins trapped under a fallen support beam, Tholian forces closing in. As Ross worked to free him, a familiar voice rang out behind her. Impressive, human, but futile. She turned to see Zoran himself standing there, his eyes burning with hatred. Ross knew she couldn't fight him and save Jenkins. In that moment, she made a choice that would haunt her. With all her strength, she hurled the prototype through a breach in the hull, sending it spinning into the void of space. "No!" Zoran roared, his focus shifting to the escaping device. Ross used the distraction to free Jenkins, half carrying him as they fled. They barely made it to the shuttle, collapsing inside as it took off. As they sped away from the asteroid, Ross watched Zoran's ships racing to retrieve the prototype. She allowed herself a grim smile, knowing they'd at least denied him his prize. Suddenly, a brilliant flash lit up space. The prototype, struck by a precision shot from the Vanguard, disintegrated in a spectacular explosion. Ross leaned back, exhaustion and pain washing over her. They'd succeeded, but at what cost? As the shuttle limped back to the Vanguard, she knew the war was just getting started. Zoran was still out there, and his thirst for vengeance would only grow stronger. Admiral Wayne Green stood at the viewport of the USS Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the red orb of Mars growing larger by the second. The ship's comm system crackled to life, breaking the tense silence on the bridge. Admiral, we've got an urgent transmission from Earth Defense Command, Lieutenant Chen reported, her fingers flying over the console. Green turned, his face etched with lines of fatigue. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the grim visage of General Hawthorne. Wayne, we've got a situation. Mars has fallen. Green's stomach dropped. What happened? A Tholian splinter group led by warlord Xyrax. They hit hard and fast, overwhelmed our defenses before we knew what was happening. They've taken control of the industrial facilities and are churning out weapons and ships. Green's mind raced, calculating options and potential outcomes. We need to take it back, now. Agreed, Hawthorne nodded. I'm authorizing the use of Earth's reserve forces. And Wayne, I'm sending you Sergeant Max Caldwell. Green's eyebrows shot up. Caldwell? I thought he retired. He did. But when he heard about Mars, he volunteered. Said he had some unfinished business with the Tholians. Within hours, the Vanguard's hangar bay buzzed with activity as dropships arrived, disgorging battle-hardened troops. Green made his way through the organized chaos, searching for one face in particular. He found Sergeant Max Caldwell checking his gear, his weathered hands moving with practiced efficiency. The old soldier looked up as Green approached, his eyes hard as flint. Admiral, Caldwell nodded, his voice a gravelly rumble. Sergeant, didn't expect to see you back in uniform. Caldwell's lips twisted in a humorless smile. Some things you never really leave behind, sir. Green nodded, understanding all too well. We're about to engage Xyrax's forces in orbit. Once we punch a hole in their defenses, I need you and your team on the ground. Disrupt their operations, gather intel, and if possible, take out Xyrax himself. Caldwell chambered around in his pulse rifle with a satisfying click. Consider it done, sir. The battle for Mars began with a flash of light as the Vanguard's quantum entanglement device fired, tearing through the fabric of space-time. Several Tholian ships winked out of existence, their crystalline structures shattered by the weapon's otherworldly energies. But Xyrax had prepared for this. The remaining Tholian vessels shimmered, their hulls covered in a strange, iridescent field that seemed to absorb the quantum device's effects. They've adapted, Green muttered, his hands clenching the arms of his command chair. Chen, status on Caldwell's team? Dropships away, sir. They're entering Mars's atmosphere now. On the red planet's surface, Sergeant Caldwell and his team of elite soldiers hit the ground running. The Martian landscape stretched before them, a vista of rust-colored dunes and jagged rock formations. Move fast, stay low, Caldwell ordered, his voice a harsh whisper in their comm units. Tholian patrols will be scanning for any sign of us. They pushed forward, their magnetic boots compensating for the lower gravity as they navigated the treacherous terrain. In the distance, the squat, angular forms of Tholian structures rose from the Martian sands like alien tombstones. As they crested a ridge, Caldwell held up a fist, signaling a halt. Below them sprawled a massive Tholian facility, its crystalline towers pulsing with eerie light. Streams of newly constructed ships and weapons flowed from its hangars in an endless parade of destruction. That's our target, Caldwell growled. Xyrax is in there somewhere overseeing this whole operation. We take him out, we might just end this war. They began their approach, using the natural cover of the Martian landscape to mask their advance. But as they neared the facility's outer perimeter, all hell broke loose. Alarm klaxons blared, and swarms of Tholian soldiers poured from the facility's gates. Energy beams lanced through the thin Martian air, superheating the very ground beneath their feet. Caldwell's team scattered, returning fire as they sought whatever cover they could find. Push forward, Caldwell roared over the din of battle. We didn't come this far to fail now. They fought their way deeper into the facility, leaving a trail of shattered Tholian warriors in their wake. But for every enemy they downed, two more seemed to take its place. Caldwell watched as his team was slowly whittled down, good men and women falling to Tholian fire or crushed beneath collapsing structures. The air grew thick with the acrid stench of ozone and the metallic tang of blood. Just as it seemed they would be overwhelmed, the sky above them lit up with a blinding flash. The Vanguard's orbital strike slammed into the facility's power core, triggering a chain reaction that ripped through the Tholian stronghold. In the chaos that followed, Caldwell found himself face to face with Warlord Xyrax himself. The Tholian leader towered over him, his crystalline body glowing with barely contained energy. "You dare challenge me on my own ground, human?" Xyrax's voice grated like shards of glass. Caldwell didn't waste breath on a reply. He charged forward, dodging Xyrax's energy blasts and closing the distance. The two warriors clashed in a furious melee, trading blows amidst the crumbling ruins of the facility. Caldwell's fists and boots cracked against Xyrax's crystalline hide, each impact sending shockwaves of pain up his arms and legs. But he pressed on, driven by the memory of every comrade lost to the Tholian menace. With a final, desperate lunge, Caldwell drove his combat knife deep into a fissure in Xyrax's armor. The Tholian warlord howled in agony, his body crackling with uncontrolled energy. "This isn't over, human," Xyrax snarled as he staggered back. "We will return, and your world will burn." Before Caldwell could press his advantage, Xyrax activated some hidden device and vanished in a flash of light, leaving the sergeant alone amidst the smoldering wreckage of the facility. Caldwell stood there, his breath coming in ragged gasps as the sounds of battle slowly faded. He keyed his comm unit. "Caldwell to Vanguard. Xyrax is wounded but escaped. The facility is neutralized." Admiral Green's voice crackled in response. "Good work, Sergeant. We're mopping up the last of their orbital defenses now. Prepare for extraction." As Caldwell waited for the dropships to arrive, he looked out over the Martian landscape, now scarred by the battle that had raged across its surface. They had won the day, but at a terrible cost. And he knew, deep in his bones, that this war was a long way to go. The Tholians would be back, and next time, they would be ready for them. The acrid stench of ozone and burnt circuitry filled the bridge of the USS Vanguard as Admiral Wayne Green surveyed the aftermath of their hard-fought victory on Mars. Sparks flew from damaged consoles, and crew members rushed to extinguish small fires that had broken out across the ship. Green's eyes swept across the main view screen, taking in the red planet's scarred surface. "Status report," he barked, his voice hoarse from shouting orders during the battle. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across her console. "Sir, we've secured the Martian orbital defenses. Sergeant Caldwell's team has neutralized the Tholian facility on the surface. However, Xyrax managed to escape." Green's lips pursed. "Any sign of where he might have gone?" "Negative, sir. His ship vanished from our sensors shortly after leaving Mars's atmosphere." The Admiral nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "Double our patrols along the outer colonies. I want every ship on high alert. Xyrax won't take this defeat lying down." As the Vanguard limped back to Earth for repairs, Green had no idea of the dark forces gathering in the shadows of the Antares Nebula. In a hidden base carved into the heart of an asteroid, Xyrax seethed with rage and humiliation. The Tholian warlord's crystalline body pulsed with barely contained energy as he paced before a group of his most loyal followers. "The humans think they've won," he snarled, his voice grating like broken glass. "But they've merely delayed the inevitable." One of his lieutenants stepped forward. "What is your command, warlord?" Xyrax's eyes gleamed with malevolent purpose. "Prepare the ritual chamber. It's time we awakened our ancient allies." Deep within the asteroid, in a chamber bathed in ethereal light, Xyrax stood before a shimmering portal. He raised his arms, his voice rising in a guttural chant that echoed through the cavernous space. The air crackled with energy, and the portal flared to life. From its depths emerged a being of pure energy, its form shifting and twisting in ways that defied comprehension. "Who dares awaken the Xylarians?" The being's voice resonated in Xyrax's mind, a sound like 1,000 screaming souls. Xyrax bowed low. "I am Xyrax, warlord of the Tholian Empire. I seek your aid in destroying a plague upon this galaxy, humanity. The Xylarian High Archon's form pulsed with interest. And what do you offer in return, Tholian? The chance to reclaim your former glory, Zyrax replied. Together, we can purge this universe of organic life and reshape it in our image. A ripple of dark amusement passed through the Xylarian's form. Very well, we accept your offer. As the pact was sealed, a wave of dread swept across the galaxy, though few could understand its source. On Earth, Admiral Green jolted awake, a cold sweat beading on his brow. He couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible had just been set in motion. Little did he know, the true test of humanity's resilience was about to begin.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.